everyone, Dante Rosary back with my second video log, just coming at you with some topics. I actually was listening to a radio show, video podcast type thing, Twitch, This Week in Tech. Not Twitch, Twit. This Week in Tech. And they were talking about some pretty interesting topics, I gotta say. One was artificial intelligence, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about right now. I find it so fascinating, like super fascinating, on the different things that you can apply to it, as far as factories and manufacturing, different things like that. Just the algorithms that you can do to make things more efficient and work better and work quicker. I mean, from what I've heard, I think Amazon's doing a lot of manufacturing and like stuff going from one place to another inside of their warehouses. Like they have like automated forklift type things that like get the package and put it to this area, and there's a lot of automation, and I think some of that comes from the artificial intelligence that put in the algorithms and different things like that. But what they were talking about was more like other artificial intelligence, kind of going into the realm of Terminator. They kind of made that reference a few times. So that's gonna be kind of the artificial intelligence I'd like to talk about a little bit too, as far as like the type of intelligence like that. I think it's Switzerland, or there's a country in Europe right now that's putting out artificial intelligence or robotic like rights laws. That would be interesting to hear about, thinking that artificial intelligence is eventually going to get to that point where it's as good or better eventually, maybe, who knows, than our own intelligence as it is. And as it stands, there were 3 games that came out. There was Chess Go, which is a Chinese board game, and Shogi as well, just for kicks, is a Japanese version, I believe, Japanese or Chinese version of chess, which I've heard is really fun. I'd like to play it, but I haven't really gotten into it yet. But the number one chess master in the world type of thing, and the AI program beat that. But then there was another AI program that did Go, and just for kicks they did Shogi as well. But I believe Google, it's like Google Zero or something like that. But they just dropped an AI that beat all 3 of those programs. And all they did was they gave it the rules of the games. So basically they gave it the rules of chess, and I think it was like 6 hours of just going through different simulations and things like that they were doing, and billions at a time, but still, within that amount of time, they were able to beat the number one AI program currently at chess. And that program took months of programming and battles with chess masters and this and that to like set up the perfect AI to take on the chess master at the time. And this program that Google just made literally just wiped the floor with them in like 8 hours of playing. Like, yeah, I got this, this is me, I got this. But just for kicks, they did it for Go, and I believe that took 6 hours. And Shogi only took a couple of hours to beat that person. So they were saying within 24 hours, this artificial intelligence program that Google created, beat the number one programs that were currently out, and that took months to make. So that's really kind of mind-blowing if you think about it. And one of their big things was, this isn't artificial learning. Like they said, the scary part is when it gets to, all right, you have the structure for Go, I gave you the rules of Go, and now you mastered that. But instead of just staying in your parameters of Go, now you take that and you move it to chess and you learn chess on your own. That's artificial learning instead of just artificial intelligence. That's artificial learning. They're actually learning another game and could extrapolate chess from Go, and that's when it starts to get scary. Um, but I don't know if it will ever get to that point. Maybe, but I think it could eventually get to that point, and that would be very, very troubling. I mean, realistically, look at Terminator. I mean, that was bang. That hit all the money right there. Movie was great, by the way. Well, the originals, but yeah. So this program, without that super learning, but just put into certain stuff, is kind of interesting in itself too. Um, because they could do anything with it. I mean, from I do Postmates now. You could do artificial intelligence in cars that self-drive, which I think is gonna be pretty fun. I'm a bit of a race head in myself, so I kind of would do my own driving, but it would be nice to go around different places and be able to have an artificial intelligence car take me wherever. But I've always talked about that in its own self with something else too. When you get to that high level of autonomy that they're doing cars, now you have to look into litigation for liability for, like, all right, what if this car hits, that's always the argument. What if this artificial intelligent car, this autonomous car that doesn't have an actual driver, what if they hit somebody, kid, person, old person, whatever, tree, light post, for property damage? I mean, it could really be anything. You put any example into that, and that would be the argument. Would it be liable for the person because they could still brake? They're the ones that are supposed to be aware of everything, even though we have brake assisting to help have our cars brake faster than we can even process. So when that happens, is it the person's fault because it just happened faster, or they were following too close, or this or that, even though it corrects itself? But we'll just push that by the wayside. So if you have this car that now doesn't have a steering wheel, this is that level of autonomy, is now cars don't have steering wheels. It's fully run by sensors. I think that the only way that'll actually happen and pass through Congress and everything else like that is if everybody was mandated to have these. And now, one, I love the idea of it because, one, it gets rid of DUIs, which is a huge problem, and two, it gets rid of, like, traffic. I mean, that in itself would be freaking awesome. When you get to a place you need to go, everything moves out of its own way. You don't have people cutting each other off. You don't have road rage or any of that stuff. So that would be kind of nice, But other than that, there's the autonomy, which goes into AI. I mean, you can't really have one without the other, because with AI, if it can't have that intelligence to know these programs, then it'll hurt somebody. That's just what's going to happen, and then it'll be on either the developers. It'll be on either the developers or it'll be on the consumer, which then makes you trust the product less. I mean, if I buy something, I'm going to want to make sure that I trust what I buy. So, if I buy a carabiner, I'm going rock climbing, I need to trust that this carabiner's, weighted at 300 pounds, 500 pounds, or whatever. Because, with the rope, with me, I'm buck 70, buck 80, plus rope, plus, everything else, backpack with extra stuff, if I do something like that. But, I want to make sure that these things are weighted properly so that I have full confidence in what I'm doing. And if I don't have full confidence in what I'm doing, I'm not going to buy a product. And that's going to be kind of where the laws are going to come in. So if this car now hits a light post, we'll just say that, property damage. Nobody gets injured, nothing like that. It's just, it's property damage. That would be something that really went wrong, though. So, I mean, if it went off the road and it hit something, that's something horribly wrong. So then let's just give the example of somebody crosses the road and they get hit. That's going to be something, that's where I was kind of going with this is you need artificial learning aside with artificial intelligence, because if they can't learn the fact that if there's a ball around and there's a kid around and that ball and that kid are together and that ball goes into the middle of the street, more than likely that kid's going to go into the middle of the street too. That's something that we learn when we're driving is, when you're going around neighborhoods, look for the ball, look for the kids, make sure that they're not going to run out in the middle of the street. That's something that I learned when I was going through driving and stuff like that when I was learning. So when you get into that aspect, of artificial learning, then it becomes, do people really need to drive? And then it goes into that aspect as well. What if we go into semi-Jetson era, I guess you'd say, where it's more public transportation. And now I have like a capsule that would go, and it's more like this capsule goes into this train and this train goes here, and then I get taken off and at my stop or whatever. And that's my transportation. I would be okay with that too. They have the Hyperloop that's supposed to go from here, from Vegas up to like San Francisco and LA. If you get a Hyperloop from Vegas to LA in 30 minutes, you're going to change the game, because people from Vegas can now work in LA and people from LA can work in Vegas, and that's just it's going to be amazing if that actually happens. But who knows if it's been on hold for so long that it's just I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever happen. We're actually getting a Super Bowl. I would much rather have had the Hyperloop than the Super Bowl. Or not the Super Bowl. Super Bowl. That'll probably never happen. But I'd much rather have the Hyperloop than the football stadium that they're putting in right now. That's its own freaking topic right there. But with artificial intelligence, it can be a scary prospect. But man, if we really get to perfect it, we're talking like making programs that can do equations faster than we could ever even dream of. Now we're talking space. Now we're talking a bunch of different things. We could really progress very rapidly as a species, and that's going to be interesting. But it's kind of that catch-22, that double-edged sword. Like, if we progress too fast and we're not careful, it might come back to bite us. Like with the autonomous vehicles, what's going to happen? And I don't know. I don't think that Congress and everything else, even around the world right now, I don't think that the UN or anybody is really thinking about how quickly autonomous vehicles, like Google right now has done like 4 or 5 years or something like that of autonomous vehicle driving. Like I was still trucking when I saw the first Google car freaking going around, and it had been already, I guess, a year that they were doing that. They also have autonomous vehicles for trucks now too. Like I don't think it was Walmart. I don't remember who started it, but they have tractor trailers that are driving themselves around too. That's going to be interesting. I think that there's always going to be a need for a driver to back the vehicle just to make sure, just because there's so much that can go wrong with that. I used to drive tractor trailers, so that's one thing I do know. I was very good at backing. I mean, I could put it pretty much anywhere you wanted. But yeah, there's just a lot. There would be a lot to do for a tractor trailer. But really, most of the laws on the road are meant for tractor trailers. You get an off sign, not an off sign. The off ramp speed limits and like the curves around like our spaghetti bowl or something like that. So a curve going from freeway to freeway or different things like that. All of those signs are meant for tractors. They're for tractor trailers. They're not for normal vehicles. They're not for normal four-wheelers. So that's going to be the big tricky part too, because if you up the speed for cars, then you have to understand that the truckers, they're going to do it. You give them that speed, they'll do it. Um, Even if you don't give them that speed, they'll still do it. But for the most part, those speed limit signs are always going to be for tractors. And if you get autonomous vehicles and you don't get autonomous tractors, then they're going to have either their own lanes and their own roads, which could be something too, or that's going to be really interesting where the autonomous learning would really have to come into play, because if they can't understand what that tractor is going to do, yeah, if they can't understand what the tractor's going to do, there's going to be wreck. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think we're years. I think we're truly years away from autonomous vehicles. Like realistically, we could have, Tesla could come out with like the next year or two with a fully autonomous car, but they can't sell it and anything like that because it'd be just dangerous. At that point, I think it would just still be dangerous to actually do it by itself. Now, if they were trying to get legislation to pass it, and if they were able to mass produce it, that's the biggest thing right now with it is, it's hard to actually get a mass production done on it. But if they can get a mass production done on it, then I think that they'll be okay. But I really think that we could be 2 to 5 years from fully autonomous vehicles. Like I think we can do it right now, but it might be 2 to 5 years before we can catch up. I should say that the government and the world's government, UN, freaking our political Congress and everything like that, it's going to take them, freaking old cats, some time to be like, all right, yeah, this is actually happening. I think they're still like understanding computers, and they're about to be in an age where cars can drive themselves. It's like I'm sure that half of them haven't driven a car anyway, so it really wouldn't even be different for them. It'd be just less traffic. But I think it'd be a great thing. I really do. Autonomous cars, I think, would be great. Even I think autonomous learning, I think, would even be great, but it has to be done right, and it can't be done fast. They can't push it quickly, which I think Google's doing a really good job on right now with getting as much data as they can. I mean, like, they've been using this car, I think, for like 3 or 4 years, gathering data and everything they can to try and release a good product. And I really hope that they do well, and I'm definitely going to be watching it. And I hope that you like this little video log. Not all of them's going to be depressing with, PTSD and everything with the vets and all that stuff. I'm going to bring stuff that hopefully people will want to know. I am following that neutrality. It's one thing as beginning for me. It's going to be kind of hard to deal with, but that's not on you, that's on me. So I'm just going to have to figure it out. I'll do what I need to do. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I am Dante Rosary with my second video log, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.